So welcome to the race today. We've got the pleasure of speaking with Toby Hilliam, the founder and CEO of Appetize, previously known as MenuAid. So they've founded MenuAid Appetize about 3 or 4 years ago in 2021. And since then, after rebranding to Appetize earlier this year, they've gained over 50,000 users of their B2C app, raised over $4 million in venture funding from Icehouse Ventures and OAF Ventures, and they count brands like Fonterra, Kum Kee, Tegel, and a bunch of others as clients on their B2B Insights platform. So super interesting business, and welcome, Toby. I'm excited to hear more about it today.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Geez, what a highlight reel. Hearing you play it like that, play it back to me like that, sounds quite good.
Well, it's been really awesome, Toby, because I remember we first spoke, I don't remember the specific date, but it must have been in 2020 or maybe early 2021. You guys were just getting started, and next thing I'm hearing, you're crushing it in New Zealand and launching over into Australia as well. So it sounds like an interesting journey, and I'm real stoked to dig into it today. I think with that in mind, can you just give the audience an overview of the Appetize business? I know there's sort of like a B2B2C component, so let's just start there so we're all on the same page.
Awesome. Yeah, so what might be easy, I'll give the last 3 years in kind of 30 seconds type thing. So Appetize today we're a B2B business. It's kind of how we position ourselves. And we're really trying to disrupt the market research industry. So we're looking to go head to head with organizations that provide usage and attitude studies, focus groups, surveys. It's kind of like typical qual style research that's really heavily focused on what we call claim data. So what people say they do. I guess how we do that is we have a consumer app that's used by about, as you said, about 50 to 60,000 Kiwis and Australians, and they use our platform to pick recipes to cook. They build shopping lists, and then they place orders with their favorite retailers, so supermarkets. And it allows us to basically observe what people buy, why they buy those things, and what products that they want to buy next. Pretty lucky, we work with about 100 different food and beverage companies across New Zealand and Australia now, and essentially helping them bring new products to market and essentially positioning themselves against their competitors.
Nice. That's a really great product, and it sounds like you've found a really great opportunity to leverage that digital insight data that no doubt a lot of supermarket or businesses that sell via supermarket shelves lack as well. Can you give a bit of an example of like what is a piece of data or an insight that you might be able to produce for, say, the likes of Tegel or any other business, and then how do they actually use that data to inform their like product launch decisions and things like that?
So I think for us, one of the really tough things about launching new products is that often in a business, these products will the ideas come to life by maybe a team member or the owner of the business saying, hey, we've got this idea for a new flavor or for a new format or for a new product. They might do some internal testing on the idea. You can imagine 10, 20 employees sitting around a table. The boss has had this amazing idea for a new flavor, and no one in the business is telling the boss that new flavor is no good. And so they give him or her the thumbs up, and these new products get brought to market. So, I think it's probably a bit unfair assuming all new products are brought to life like that, but that's a pretty common story in a lot of companies. And so what we do is we help these brands de-risk that investment. So we will take all of the different flavors that are needed or required for a particular ingredient, and we'll put it into a recipe. We then put it onto our platform, and we observe, is this recipe popular? Do people like the flavor? Who's engaging with the recipe? We give brands real data points on like the likelihood of this thing being a success, and we help them then pitch that back to the retailer and kind of give them like a solid data point to prove that this product deserves to be on shelf.
Interesting. And so it's actually more driven by the recipes and like flavors and tendencies that people are sort of leaning towards?
Yeah. So there's a real old school form of research called a usage and attitude study, and they can cost anywhere from $300,000, and we've heard some of them going up over $1 million. And all they are basically doing is they will look at who buys cottage cheese as an example, if we're looking at cottage cheese, who buys cottage cheese, why do they buy cottage cheese, and how do they use it across which occasions? And so the challenge with that type of data is it's done every 4 years. And as soon as that piece of research is done, the next day it becomes stagnant, right? And then the day after. And so they use the same information for about 4 years to plan, which new products they'll make, the marketing campaigns they're going to execute on. And I think so for us, we have a behavioral platform that's used, it's updated every day by Kiwis and Australians who are just doing their regular grocery shopping and cooking recipes. And we're able to see how people use the products, how this changes, what they're adding to those products. So are they putting hot sauce with their cottage cheese? Are they mixing it with honey? Are they mixing it with pesto? What are the flavors that go with it? And how can brands think about new flavors they could introduce, or new formats, or new pack sizes that Kiwis and Australians are really going to want?
Oh, wow. That sounds so valuable. And obviously, because it's so dynamic, much more in tune, I think it feels like food and consumer trends can change quite fast. Like from, I don't know, there's definitely been some fads in New Zealand around products, but also, I don't know, I feel like a few years ago, salted caramel, I'd never heard of it, and now it's on everything. So no doubt there's quite a few changes that happen, year to year, I suppose, as well. So it sounds super valuable.
100%. Yeah, the one that's been really interesting to watch at the moment is there's this amazing flavor out of, I think it's out of Korea, called gochujang. I don't know if I'm not sure if you like hot, spicy things, but sriracha was this thing that was just going nuts around the world, this amazing flavor coming out of Thailand, and it took New Zealand about 5 years behind everyone else to adopt sriracha into the mainstream pantry staple. And we're just seeing it happen again with gochujang. It's come here, we've kind of adopted it pretty early, 2 years into the sort of adoption curve of a trend, and people are just putting it with everything. Macaroni and cheese, they're putting it in burgers, they're putting it with salads. It's I think that's going to be the next mega kind of flavor trend. There you go, a little freebie for everyone.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm going to look out for that in the supermarket next time. Is it spicy? Just to go into that a little bit more, or what does it taste like?
It is. It's definitely pretty spicy. It's if you've ever been to a Korean restaurant, you get Korean fried chicken. If it's ever covered in a sticky sauce, it's that stuff. So it's got a sweet and spicy flavor. It's really good. And you buy it everywhere. It's awesome. Yeah. And we don't work with them, so if you are listening, gochujang brands, we can help you out.
There you go. I'd love to have the first time the Rays has ever closed a deal or opened up a lead for a prospect. That'd be cool. And tell me about the B2C side of the app. So is that free, and how do users tend to engage with that? Is it week to week, etc.?
Yeah. So consumer side's completely free. Actually, when we first connected, Ryan, it was our core business model was charging the consumer, and we found that the opportunity with the insights is just massive. And we felt, if we want to build a huge global, market research panel, we wanted to make a really awesome panel offering, I guess. And so what I mean by that is other market research companies, they pay people maybe $20 to fill out a survey, and the challenge with that is you're incentivized to give answers, and it's often not super authentic. And so we made the consumer app completely free. People go in every week, they'll pick and choose recipes that they want to make, they'll build a shopping list, they'll figure out which place is the cheapest to get that list, and they'll place an order straight through our platform. And the beauty is we don't charge them anything, we just sit back and watch. And so we don't share any of your first party information. We'll never share who you are, or where you live, or your email address, anything like that. We basically just capture trends and show that, young couples living in Auckland typically like to eat more Asian food than young couples living in the South Island, or, families are typically looking for high protein meals that are cost effective, things like that. So just kind of augmented insights based on lots of different behavioral data points.
Nice. And does that help on the B2B side, does that help them go and sort of pitch to retailers as well? Because they do have to compete to some extent with shelf space as well, right? And build more of a narrative around what sales will be like, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, 1,000%. So retailer will typically ask you who's going to buy this and why. It's kind of like their normally big roadblock they put in front of you. And so for brands, we're able to help them understand who's buying now, who might be buying in the future, and helping build like a really strong narrative around why their product should be on shelf over a potential competitor.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And what's it been like selling to, or actually let's come back a question before that, just before I dive too deep into the B2B sales component. What led you to that sort of aha moment of actually let's totally shift the initial B2C subscription model that we've got over to B2B? Did that start with like just a wild guess, or was there a B2B conversation that you stumbled upon? Like what happened there?
Yeah, I'm going to be really honest with you. It's funny. I wish there was a better story to this, but it's actually just a friend of mine after a couple of drinks, sort of saying something I thought was kind of silly, and it then sparked a big idea. But a really good friend of mine owns a beverage company. They're still a startup. They're really small, and he just mentioned one day that he has no idea who buys their product. And I guess in my eyes, I thought, well, if you don't know who's buying and like what occasions they're buying for, it must be near on impossible to think about how you could market to, how you could recruit more people to your brand. Um, they have no idea whether people are buying, 12 of their cans and drinking them on a night out with friends, whether they're just buying a six pack to drink on a sunny afternoon at the beach. They have no idea. So all of their marketing was guesswork. And you're in the marketing space, like the more you can know about the end consumer and I guess like the typical pathway to purchase, the more you can influence it. And so I told him that I could figure it out for him. Like I could just look into our platform, see who's buying it right now, and give some of those insights. And I did, and he was very grateful. And we thought, I guess from there, it was, is my friend alone in this and just not very sophisticated, or is this something that the whole industry is struggling with? And luckily for us, like the whole industry really struggles to know why people buy their products for which occasions and how they can sort of show up in that shopper journey. So once we started to talk to maybe 10 brands, we realized there was a huge opportunity here to basically turn off our consumer revenue, which was a little bit daunting. A couple of $100,000 just turned off overnight. But we just, went all in on B2B from there.
Nice. I reckon that's a pretty good story though, Toby. That is pretty compelling. So don't worry. What was it like just emailing all those customers and being like, hey, it's like you're going to get the same app, maybe even better, and it's going to be free now? Did any of them reply? Like, what were their responses?
Yeah, it's funny. It was mixed. I think some felt like too good to be true, which was quite interesting. I think lots of people felt the $4 per week was too cheap for the value they got. So I guess there was maybe an element of guilt on their end that they're getting all this epic value and not having to pay anything. But maybe our biggest concern was, sharing with them that actually like the reason it's free is because we're going to be using insights to help New Zealand food brands make better products. But we were just met with such overwhelming support. I think we probably underestimated how excited someone is to know that their voice is essentially being heard to help influence the food ecosystem, which so many people got in touch and said, hey, like if you want me to like test new products, or if you want me to give feedback on my favorite products or flavors I love, like we're happy to do that too. So I think that was the real eye opener for us, is that people actually were like just super excited by our new journey, and then just equally stoked at getting the $4 a week back as well, probably.
Nice. Yeah, that's so cool. That's definitely a lot more welcome than like a price increase message, which I'm sure a lot more people are used to. And let's dive into the B2B sales component. Like on the one side, you've got, we had a really low price point B2C subscription product. And then on the other hand, you're selling to the likes of Tegel, which I believe used to be like NZX listed, really big companies. How do you deal with those two like sort of acquisition channels?
Yeah, so it's at this stage we are all outbound on the B2B side. So just we have myself and a few others who are looking to basically attend different events where brands show up, or use things like LinkedIn, and it's been super effective for us. We are just starting to launch some B2B marketing with the shift to Appetize. So that'll be really interesting to see how that goes as kind of a lead generation channel. From a consumer side, we've got a pretty well-oiled machine now. We get consumers in the door for $3 to $4 across New Zealand and Australia. And so that's sort of just the big shift in B2C is because we're a research company now, we need to have a statistically representative sample. So instead of just going mass market and acquiring anyone who wants to use a meal planning tool, we need to find retirees, we need to find young singles in Invercargill, we need to find people who live everywhere. So a bit more challenging, a bit more strategic for our consumer side. And then finding brands like Tegel, the big unlock for growth for us was getting Fonterra. When you talk to any brand in NZ and say you've got Fonterra, they take you seriously. So that was awesome to get them. They were our third customer, and then the doors open a little bit easier once you have someone like that. So that was really good.
Nice. And how did you get Fonterra out of interest? Was that just a pure best written cold email ever, or what was the story there?
Yeah, mate, it was a bit of a Hail Mary. We just found this incredible woman. Her name's Kelly. I think we got very lucky, like right timing, got her on the right day of the week where she was just happy to take a bet. She said, I'll give you, it's pretty ruthless. She said, I want to do a 1 month trial and I'm not paying for it unless it's valuable, which we thought, it's just worth a crack with someone like Fonterra. And that 1 month trial shifted from a 2.5 grand, I guess, like potential value for us if they were going to pay. And then fast forwarding today, it's like a 7-figure contract. So it's it's worthwhile bet on both parts, I think, on both parties.
Yeah, no doubt. We're obviously adding heaps of value to get an extension like that as well, a contract increase. That's pretty wild. And how do you find selling to B2B at that level of organization? Obviously, there's a lot of sort of decision makers and different budget lines and stuff. Are you finding you're selling to like a one sort of product division where they can actually make decisions fairly fast, or does it have to go up the chain quite a bit?
Yeah, that's a really good question, mate. I think in terms of our sales process, it's been really focused on finding a core champion who gets really excited by what we're doing and can see the pathway to value. And then we're basically just trying to find a way to build a really solid business case with them that kind of fits within budget that they can sign off on. And once we can, and that's normally maybe through a 2 to 3 month trial or proof of value. And then once we have that, it allows us to then, I guess, share the business case with the wider business and try and tap into new budgets. Often marketing, unfortunately, is the first thing to get cut when times are tough. So looking to try and get into the research budget or into maybe the sales and category budget as well.
So in terms of the B2B side of your business and B2C, what are some of the challenges and also some of the synergies of running that? Because B2B outbound sort of enterprise function is largely outbound led, as you mentioned. Then you've got your B2C where you want to focus on, app retention and weekly average usage and quite different things you're optimizing towards. How are you approaching that, and what are some of those opportunities there?
Yeah, so I think it's certainly a challenge running a business that has these kind of two quite distinct or differentiated parts. We went through a really awesome exercise. We brought on some external help to really start to think about how we can align the business to have a really clear strategy and a really clear growth plan. And part of that process, we realized that we're almost like a horse with two heads, and where the heads are kind of running in different directions, where half the business really wants to focus on the consumer and building a fantastic experience and making sure they really thrive and get benefit from the platform. Whereas the other side is trying to capture as many data points as we can. And so those things don't always go together. So part of that strategic work was to go, well, I guess, where are we trying to get to as a B2B Insights company? And what are some of the current limitations with our consumer offering? And how can we, I guess, sort of build a roadmap that ensures our B2B customers keep getting value and our consumer app is sort of still delivering the value it should. it's then changed the way we work as a business. So we now have kind of different business divisions in the team. Some are focused on consumer, some are focused on B2B, and then we have a team that's actually dedicated to like the underlying infrastructure that holds it all together. And so we now have, I guess, it's been a really awesome growth opportunity within the company. We're about 25 people now, and so being able to have different leaders emerge in the business who can, I guess, lead people and run their own teams, and I guess be the one that connects information throughout the business. So that's been really, really cool to see, and watching team members who were third and fourth hires still here today, 3 years later, leading teams is really quite inspiring. So yeah, it's a challenge, but I guess in our eyes, we don't have a business without the consumer app. It's a really important part of our business. It's at our core, and we know if we can get that right, we can then help brands really bring a consumer lens to how they run their business, which is kind of our core vision, really.
Yeah, really interesting analogy with the horse with two heads as well. And growth to 25 people is probably a big undertaking in itself, just in terms of structure and approach, and keeping everyone sort of accountable and engaged and all of that type of thing as well. You touched on that you've had some advisors come on. Has that been quite instrumental to help the business grow and mature as well?
Yeah, advisors have been, it's really interesting. So I've had a couple of bites at the startup cherry with varying success. And I think having advisors is super important. And the key is kind of being really transparent and really clear with the advisor of what you want to get out of the relationship and what the business needs, and kind of then being able to, I guess, mutually acknowledge that once we've achieved that the kind of advisor's done their job, and it's almost an opportunity to bring in the next person. I think in the beginning we maybe hung on to some advisors for a little bit too long, and it's just what we've found really healthy is having this kind of almost constantly evolving network of advisors. As you get to new tiers, you can bring in new expertise, new thinking, who can start to kind of drag everyone up another level. So that's been probably the biggest unlock for us, is thinking about who can get us to the next stage and being quite relentless at repeating that process.
Yeah, interesting. That's a really great insight. It's certainly the case, I think, with startups, is that you kind of continue to just hit these ceilings of both what you as a CEO need to be doing in the organization for it to be successful at that level, and then equally what the business needs, and it changes fairly quickly. Obviously you guys have a lot more people than Atlas, but it's certainly something that I've noticed over time is if you can't evolve, and then also if you can't get new insights and perspectives as well to help solve those different problems, it can be easy to kind of, I don't know, it's you end up just not being able to see the forest through the trees type thing. You kind of just focus more on some of the problems you think you have, rather than thinking about where it is that you need to go and what you need to do to get there.
100%. Yeah, it's a great reflection, and we probably one of our biggest challenges, Elise and I as founders, is there's just an unfortunate reality of running a company. You're in it with your team. You're rolling up your sleeves, and you're fighting fires, and you're dealing with the day-to-day, and it is really hard to elevate yourself out of that and try and look ahead, and to be the one that's sort of steering and guiding the ship, versus with the buckets of water trying to keep the ship afloat. So I think a big focus of ours is how do we be really deliberate and be really intentional, and give ourselves the time, even if it's just a couple hours a week, to just try and look ahead, and what risks are coming, and what are we not thinking about right now. What is Appetiz going to look like in 12 months' time? Who are those kind of key people? What would need to ring true? So easier said than done, but that's the idea, at least.
Always a lot to do, a lot to think about. It's a real game of priorities at the end of the day. It's hard to do it all at once, I guess. So carving out time is a great way to do it. And touching on the next 12 months, you've recently launched into Australia. What's the game plan there?
Yeah, so be a little spoiler alert, I reckon. This telling you this, we haven't really told anyone publicly yet, but I'm happy to drop the bomb here. So yeah, Elise and I Aussie's a huge opportunity for us. There's double of the amount of food and beverage companies. There's 5 times the amount of consumers. It's a massive opportunity. And we spoke with a lot of founders who have had a crack at Australia and it didn't necessarily go super well. And we spoke to some that have had a crack and it's gone really well. And the key theme seemed to be like founders themselves moving over there, putting boots on the ground and sort of leading by example and treating it like a startup from scratch and like it's a brand new business. And so, yeah, we've decided that we're actually first thing next year moving to Sydney. We're going to set up, I guess, like the Appetiz office in Sydney, start building out our own team and just treat this thing like a brand new startup and just start again. We've got a playbook now, but being very conscious that, New Zealand and Australia are very different and we don't want to sort of take anything for granted. So that's kind of this big reveal. So we're moving to Oz first thing next year and just like really investing in go-to-market growth, really.
Wow. Thanks for giving us the exclusive there. And Sydney's a fantastic city. I've spent a lot of time there in the last couple of years as well. And it's like, it's so good there. Have you chosen Sydney because that tends to have a lot of the head offices and stuff as well? Or what's the sort of decision around Sydney versus Melbourne?
Yeah, well, pretty much to your point, like there's a heap of head offices for food and beverage companies there. It's pretty even between Sydney and Melbourne, but I love Melbourne, but I think it's probably just a good city to visit. Nice food, nice coffee, sports. Whereas Sydney, I think we live in Christchurch, it's pretty cold here. We're going to go and move by the beach, I think, and I might pick up surfing or try a few new hobbies and just, change the scenery. I can't wait.
Awesome. See you out in Manly, getting that ferry over for your business meeting. Sounds like a good lifestyle setup.
Yeah. We're stoked. I think we thought about hiring a country manager was the initial goal. Could we hire a head of Australia? And it just felt like, for us to go over there and just live and breathe like the environment that our brands and our consumers live in and just get like a true feel for it was going to be the best option. So no, we can't wait. We're super excited.
Awesome. And last question, just looking ahead around the change in technology that we've been experiencing over the past couple of years. Obviously, everyone's talking about AI. Are there any sort of emerging trends? I know there's like AI, like prediction opportunities and analytics and that type of thing. Is AI something you're integrating into the app currently, or what are the sort of emerging tech things on your mind at the moment?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun space, and I think the role of technology to help people make better decisions around food is really strong. We have this really cool like blue sky channel and within Slack where the team just put, there's no ideas off the table, and it's pretty interesting stuff around just being able to scan your pantry and to kind of upload that to a platform and it start to just like keep a live inventory. So as you're cooking things through Appetize, it will know that, you only had X amount of these spices and X amount of these sauces, and based on the recipes you've chosen, here's when you might need to like repurchase staples and kind of getting reminders based on when things are on special. So there's some pretty powerful, I guess, like it's mostly driven through AI, but using some kind of like augmented reality and things. So that's been pretty interesting. But I think, every business needs to be using AI, not just in your day-to-day, but kind of thinking about how they can bake it into their platforms and technology. So that's, we're no different. We've got a bunch of things we use behind the scenes, like recommendation engines, and just thinking about some kind of simple front-end applications we can add as well.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Well, Toby, it's been fantastic to talk to you today, learn more about Appetiz as well. Are there any parting words? Where can we sign up or anything like that?
Yeah, so for any consumers out there, it's just appetiz.io. It's completely free. You'll find thousands of delicious, yummy recipes. Love connecting with people on LinkedIn. You can find me at Toby Hilliam. And then if there is that Gotcha Junk brand listening or any other food and beverage company, just head to appetiz.insights. You'll find us there as well. But yeah, it's been awesome, Ryan. Super stoked to be able to do this. Man, it's nice to close the loop three or so years later.
Yeah, you guys have done a fantastic job. Love your work.
Awesome, mate. Cool. Much appreciated.